I'm Mr. Shiz here on the Sports.
know that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, would you bring your attention to me? Good evening!
Welcome to our show.
Hello and welcome again to another edition of the Sports Horn. Clint Schweitzer, Chris Westendorf, and what a huge episode we have for you guys tonight. Clint, we got to get right into it, buddy. My buddy Clint, I was unable to go, had to work. My buddy Clint and the Sports Horn crew went to Columbia, Missouri this weekend for the big black and gold spring football game. And Clint, tell me all about it. I know we've got a lot of footage. I'll tell you what, why don't we get right into the...
Okay, the Sports Horns here live at Faroe Field here on April 16th for the Missouri Black and Gold game. We're getting ready to go in and do some tailgating.
It's been a ride. I guess I had to go to that place to get to this one. Now some of you might still be in that place.
We never cry for love. We're superheroes. We are back where we belong. We never cry for pain. We're superheroes. Man, 'cause that's where we belong. Way too long I've tried to be.
Wow, that's all I've got to say about that. A huge weekend. Tell me about talking to Coach Gary Pinkel. Tell me about talking, to Kim English, Blaine Gabbert, and just all the conversations you have with these guys.
Well, the Sports Horn, we have our way in now. We've got the shirts, people recognize it.
T-shirts for sale, people. $15. Send them to the address.
And so, Chris, we go down, and I wish you could have been with me, but we went down to Columbia.
God, I hate it. I missed it.
On Saturday and had just the best time meeting with players old and new. Coach Gary Pinkel, spoke with him. Really got a lot of interesting stuff from that and took away quite a bit of information with regards to how this football team's going to look. And, typically it's spring. We're talking baseball, but spring football is so huge. You set your depth chart, and I have a lot of ideas how that's going to shake out. That inside information is going to be available here today, Chris, because what I saw yesterday, Missouri's defense looks extremely dominant.
That's what I gathered.
Some names to look out for coming into next year that you probably haven't heard yet. Coney Ely, redshirt freshman, is a monster. Absolute monster. E.J. Gaines, a sophomore cornerback, absolute lockdown.
Had a big pick in the game.
Had a big pick. Now, we're talking about the quarterbacks. I'll tell you this, Tyler Gabbert or James Franklin, either one did anything to differentiate themselves from the other. I think it's going to be a battle going into the summer. And from the people I talk to, this is neck and neck. And
who do you think will be starting in opening day for the Tigers at quarterback?
Well, if you had to put a gun to my head, I'd probably have to say that I think James Franklin's going to get the nod. I think this is the guy that they can run a diverse offense with. He can run the ball. Tyler Gabbert maybe isn't quite as accurate as he needs to be yet, but I think he's going to get every bit of a chance. But we asked about Ashton Glazier. Here's a guy that moved the ball really well. There's a whole lot you can take from this. Our running game looked really good.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about next. In the running back department, how are we looking there? Who stood out to you?
Well, two guys stood out to me in this game, and I think that Kendall Lawrence is the guy that right now is running first string, and he had a couple of really good runs.
Speed.
And also Devin Moore, again, a guy that's been there. He's a senior.
Yeah,
and then you've got the two sophomores in Josie and Marcus Murphy that are going to be in the mix. So
we're stacked at that position. I really feel like that. Now up front, Clint, are we holding Are we looking good up front as far as run blocking, pass blocking? Because, with this spread offense, there's a lot of, three-step drops and hits. So,
And that's going to be key. You've got to move the football, and the offensive line is a huge part of that. I'll tell you this line is a little bit patchy this spring because there's some injuries. Elvis Fisher, starting left tackle, out with injury. And so they moved, guys like Jack Miners into his spot and Travis Ruth. So
I've heard good things about Jack Miners. He's been all over Power Mizzou about how much he's improved and how far he's come along. Yeah. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, with Alton Smith exiting, how are we looking? I know we got Brad Madison back there. We got Jaquez Smith. How do they look on the defensive side of the ball?
And you just mentioned two starters. They're going to be, both up probably for all Big 12 honors, in Madison and Jaquez Smith. You're also looking at, the return of Dominic Hamilton and Terrell Rizzono, two defensive tackles. And this is before you've even entered Sheldon Richardson into the equation, a former five-star tackle.
Baby.
Big Sheld was at the game, promised me he would be there in June to start working out and getting his classes in order.
Phenomenal.
So with that, this could be the best front seven Missouri's ever had. Let me tell you this. Will Ebner, Luke Lambert, two starters are going to be
Thank
seniors.
God Luke got that extra year.
Yes, excellent. And these are two guys that were out with injury, unable to participate in spring ball, that will be there come summer, and it's going to be a great linebacker.
Will Ebner, we love you, buddy. I think this guy is going to be one of those surprise guys there in the middle up for the Linebacker of the Year award. I really do. Now, I know you had a small conversation with Xavier Gooden.
Yes.
I seen you had the picture there in the film. And did he have anything to say as far as, does he feel like he's going to be that guy?
Xavier Gooden absolutely feels like he's going to be that guy.
He made some big plays last year. And I know coming into the University of Missouri, they were very high on him.
This is a guy that's a junior. He's been there for 2 years, played a lot his freshman year, started his sophomore year. He's the next Sean Witherspoon. Let me tell you another guy, Darvin Ruiz, a guy from Louisiana, is going to be in the mix. He's a redshirt freshman that played a lot. Between him and Gooden, Donovan Bonner, and Andrew Wilson, certainly.
Andrew Wilson.
Those are names to look out for. Those are names to look out for, and that's not even adding the guys we already know.
Right.
It's going to be one of Missouri's best defenses ever going into the next year.
Well, another question I wanted to ask you is, okay, now when we go to the secondary, two of my favorite guys out there right now, they got to be E.J. Gaines and Kip Edwards. Those are the future at corner for the Tigers, I think. How do they look?
Okay, no, you hit it exactly. E.J. Gaines and Kip Edwards, those are your two starters penciled in for next year. Those guys are absolute lockdown. You're talking about, you had Carl Geddes last year, a guy that played pretty well, but I think this group can be better. In the safeties, we have Kenji Jackson back for another year, along with guys that are going to mix in there like Tavon Bolden, Matt White, and Daniel Easterly, a 6'4" safety. It's crazy to see him out there.
Amazing.
But this is the most talent I've ever seen on a Missouri team. I know we lost Blaine Gabbert, our quarterback, who we also spoke with. He's going to be, of course, a big draft pick.
Was Dave Steckel as animated as we're used to seeing him out there on the sideline? I love that guy as our defensive coordinator.
I love Dave Steckel. We all do. Steckel was a little bit more lax in this. He wanted to let him have a good time. I was told.
The last question I have from your experience there with the big tailgate and everything, you ran into Kim English, and I believe he said something that kind of surprised you, a little interesting, really.
English and we did have a good conversation. What a nice and engaging young man he is.
That's why we love him. That's why he's my favorite player. Can't wait to watch. I think he'll come back next season.
I agree. And
great.
I asked him about, Mike Anderson. How did he feel about his departure? Kim English told me that he and a lot of players were glad Mike Anderson was departing, that he feels like there was team chemistry issues, and that he feels like, Mike Anderson had checked out on him a long time ago, and that he felt like that Anderson was gone as of a year ago.
Wow.
So that's...
Now, folks, really think about that and think about how that could have affected our basketball team from the very beginning.
And that's telling. Kim English has promised me, this is another conversation I had with English, he told me that there was a recruit, a transfer that's going to be coming in. He couldn't tell me a name. There is going to be a guy come in, a transfer. We don't know if it's from Miami, a guy maybe from Louisville, somewhere like, because we did hire Tim Fuller, the Louisville assistant. He told me there was a transfer coming in, a big man, a 6'9" plus big man that's coming next year. He said it will, quote, put them over the edge. That's what I was told.
You heard it right here on the Sports Horn,
exactly,
folks, too. So when it happens, do not be surprised, and let's keep the faith and hate until we find out where that's going to go. Turning our attention now to the NFL draft, because we got a big special coming up next week. Our draft guru, Cody Westendorf, will be joining us.
I can't wait to bring him in
for a roundtable discussion. He's my brother.
My favorite.
This guy's he's as knowledgeable about the draft as anybody you'll meet, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. But just to give a little sneak peek into that, I want to know, because there's so much controversy swirling right now, Clint, about, well, the Chiefs never take the obvious pick via Tyson Jackson. You know, they did with Eric Berry, so what's going to happen this year? Third draft for the Pioli-Haley era. What are we looking at? Who's going to be that surprise guy nobody's going to expect?
It's an important draft for this regime. Now, Scott Pioli recently this week went on record as saying that he stands by his pick of Tyson Jackson and that, you know, he would not have went elsewhere with that. I feel like we could have drafted Screech Powers and had more production out of him.
Well, at least he might have made it more than a couple plays. I mean, even being the little guy that he is. But
will they take the obvious pick like you asked? I don't know. It depends on what the obvious pick is because we don't know what position we're targeting. Is it going to be Phil Taylor from Baylor? To me, Phil Taylor could be the guy.
Phil Taylor. The thing that concerns me with Phil Taylor,
other than that he played at Baylor, is that
maybe that. It could be the fact that the guy is sketchy. It's like he takes downs off. This is a known fact on some of his.
Sounds like a perfect Chiefs defensive tackle.
I don't want another Ryan. Possibly like.
Give me a name though. We know your first round pick. We want a name. We want everyone to know his name because
absolutely.
They're going to know his brother. I can tell you that.
Okay. Well, first of all, I really think that, you know, in the first round we know who that is. Mike Pouncey. That's a guy that I really feel like the Chiefs should take if he's available. I've heard him going as high as number 8. Everything from that to slipping in the second round, and that's why you just don't know. In the second round, though, there's another guy that I love. His name's Marcus Cannon. He's from TCU. He is the best offensive lineman, I believe, in this draft. And I think if you were to get Pouncey along with Cannon, you now have an interior young line with Asamoah, Pouncey, and Cannon. With Brandon Albert. I'm sorry, you have a core now. That is my thought.
Why would you want that?
Yeah, I mean, who wants to...
You don't want tired old veterans that are often injured up there?
Yeah. But, folks, that's just a little sneak preview.
Oh, we're going to have
got so much to talk about. We're going to be doing our mock drafts, not only for the first round, but also
through the whole thing.
All 7 rounds for the Kansas City Chiefs next week. Cody Westendorf is going to be here. I'm pumped. I'm excited. Go get your Sports Horn shirts if you haven't got one yet. And be ready for this party on the 21st.
May 21st? Are you going to be at this party?
I'm gonna be there.
No, I've got a question. The Sports Horn stands for much more than just mindless sports information. We want all of our fans to look good. You can't look good without one of the official Sports Horn tank tops or t-shirts.
That's right.
Right, girls?
Right.